All right, welcome everyone to another deep dive. Today we're looking at, well, this is a big one, a pretty significant address
Yeah.
given on March 25th by the chief advisor in Bangladesh, Dr. Mohammed Yunus.
Yeah.
And this was, as reported by Somay TV,
Right.
you flagged this as a source. And, you're really interested in getting a good, solid understanding of the current, political and economic situation in
Yeah.
Bangladesh. And
Yeah.
this perspective is, I think, really key. Um, so, our mission today, I think, is to unpack this. What are the essential insights, the initiatives? What are the challenges that Dr. Yunus laid out in this address?
Yeah, and it is a very comprehensive speech. I think he really hit on pretty much everything.
Yeah.
I think it carries, particular weight given the date. And Dr. Yunus actually acknowledges this right at the beginning of the speech.
Right?
March 25th is obviously a very significant and also somber day in Bangladesh's history.
Yeah.
It marks the start of the Liberation War in 1971 and the immense sacrifices that were made for the nation's independence. And his respect for the martyrs and his mention of the spirit of the July when I bit a line cut the mass uprising, I think really kind of frame the context of the speech.
Yeah.
This is kind of a look back while striving for a better future.
Yeah. Okay, so let's dive right in.
Yeah.
There were some immediate concerns that I think he wanted to address. Things like controlling prices, and this is, the prices of essential goods,
Mm-hmm.
which is obviously always important, but particularly during Ramadan.
Right.
And also ensuring, steady, me cut right,
Mm-hmm.
the electricity supply.
Right.
So those were sort of right at the top of the agenda, it seems like.
Absolutely. I mean, managing, the supply of essential goods and preventing, these price spikes during Ramadan,
Right.
which is, it's a period of heightened consumption, obviously.
Yeah.
That was a key focus. And what's interesting is he actually mentioned receiving positive reports. Oh, really?
From across the country that suggested that commodity prices had actually come down
Okay.
compared to the period before, which, had led to public satisfaction. And so it seems like, this kind of government oversight on
Right.
import-export processes,
Right.
ensuring fair pricing, this is having, at least an initial positive effect. And he did make it clear that these efforts to kind of keep prices stable would continue.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's certainly welcome news, especially during, such an important time of year.
Exactly.
Now, shifting our focus a bit here,
Yeah.
the address then went on to talk about sort of the broader state of the economy.
Yeah.
And there was a clear acknowledgement of, I guess, the situation that they've inherited
Mm-hmm.
from the previous administration.
Yeah, and the speech didn't shy away from this direct assessment
Yeah.
of the economic conditions they inherited.
Mhm.
Dr. Yunus used some strong terms.
Referring to, allegations of Johnny Panay Nkonkoka,
Okay.
which means terrible looting
Yeah.
and that teen realizing a
Yeah.
completely shattered economy.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, I think that paints a picture
Yeah.
of the significant challenges that were at play here. And I
Yeah.
think it really helps to kind of understand, the subsequent actions and priorities of the interim government.
Okay, so what are some of the main strategies they've laid out
Okay.
to get the economy back on track?
Sure, yeah. So several key areas were highlighted. I think first and foremost, there's a major emphasis on restoring multifasis
Yeah.
or discipline,
Right.
within the banking sector. And this was presented as really kind of a fundamental building block
Right.
for broader economic stability.
Okay.
And, beyond that, he pointed to some positive trends emerging, in other parts of the economy, although he didn't really kind of go into exhaustive detail on those.
Yeah.
He did, however, specifically focus on Hanesaloya, inflation
Right.
as a really significant hurdle.
Yeah.
I mean, this is something that, a lot of countries are grappling with right now.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So how is Bangladesh positioned right now in terms of inflation?
Right.
Well, Dr. Yunus noted that actually there had been a pretty significant development.
Okay.
He said that inflation had fallen to 9.32% in February,
Oh.
which he stated was the lowest it's been in 22 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And looking ahead, the government is projecting a further decrease. They expect inflation to drop below 8% by June.
Okay.
So if they can achieve that, it would certainly represent substantial progress, I think, in terms of managing the cost of living for people.
For sure.
And this recent drop, to a near 2-year low, I think it suggests that these initial economic measures that the interim government has taken might be starting to have an impact.
Yeah.
But of course, sustained efforts will be vital to maintain this downward trend.
Yeah.
Especially given the kind of the unpredictable global economic situation at the moment.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of forces at play there.
Right.
Okay. So definitely a step in the right direction, it sounds like now.
It seems so, yeah.
The speech also gave, I think, considerable attention to, the contributions of the Aradi Tamokaf,
Mm-hmm.
our overseas brothers and sisters,
Right.
and the flow of remittances
Yeah.
into Bangladesh.
Absolutely. And this was presented as a real bright spot. He highlighted that remittances reached a record high in February, jumping by around 25% to per unit. That's $2.5 billion.
Wow.
And he rightly called these individuals heroic soldiers
Yeah.
for their crucial role in bolstering the nation's economy. I mean, these remittances are a critical lifeline.
Yeah.
They provide vital foreign currency reserves. They support countless families financially, and they contribute significantly to Bangladesh's GDP. And they often act as a kind of a buffer against economic shocks. And he also mentioned ongoing efforts
Okay.
to try and simplify the procedures for these overseas workers.
Right.
Ensure they don't face unnecessary hurdles when sending money back. And also, improve the functioning of Bangladeshi embassies,
Right.
To better support them.
Right.
And he even went as far as talking about working towards granting voting rights. Oh, wow.
To overseas citizens in the upcoming elections.
Okay.
Which would be, I think, a really significant move towards greater inclusivity.
Yeah, for sure. It's really acknowledging, I think, the vital contributions
Absolutely.
that they make. So going back to the banking sector for a second here, this came up again in the context of the previous government.
It did, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he talked about the alleged occupation of banks.
Right.
And the misuse of Panangadigan depositors' money.
Right.
Under the previous administration. And he even kind of, drew this parallel to like and land grabbing.
Okay.
To emphasize how serious this issue was.
Yeah.
And so restoring trust and confidence in the banking system was described as a key priority.
For the interim government. And that involves, focusing on protecting the interests of depositors, establishing clear, contemplated, rules and discipline, as well as, Dina continued the credibility and financial records. He presented, kind of this renewed faith in the banking system as a very important achievement.
Okay.
That has kind of brought basis law and order back to the economy.
Right. So this all paints, a pretty concerning picture.
Yeah.
Of the financial landscape that they inherited.
It does.
And then there was a figure mentioned about, capital flight from the country.
Right.
Which was really just truly staggering.
Yeah. He cited an absolutely astonishing figure, of 234 billion chicken dollars.
Wow.
That was allegedly smuggled out of Bangladesh over the last 15 years.
That's a huge amount of money.
It is a huge amount of money. And just to underscore, how brazen some of these alleged activities were, he gave this really shocking example.
Oh, really?
The reported transfer of $33.3 million, nearly 400 crore taka, supposedly for a student's education expenses.
Right.
For just 3 months abroad.
Wow.
And he kind of questioned, where are the limits
right.
to this kind of corrupt practice when the rule of law is disregarded.
Right.
And this alleged siphoning of such a massive amount of capital over over 15 years, I mean, that represents a significant drain
Oh, yeah.
on potential investment in crucial sectors like infrastructure, education.
Absolutely.
And it really highlights the urgent need for stronger financial governance.
Right.
And he did mention that international efforts to bring these prettiest Mostly money launderers to justice have been intensified.
Okay. Yeah, that single example just
It does.
really kind of clarifies the magnitude.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the address kind of shifted towards, uh, attracting investment and
Yeah.
boosting trade.
Yeah.
What were some of the key takeaways in that area?
Yeah, so he emphasized the interim government's active engagement with top international Mekong investors.
Okay.
And he noted, a significant increase
Okay.
in their interest in investing in Bangladesh
Right.
under this current administration.
Right.
And he expressed optimism about new foreign investment flowing into the country
Okay.
soon.
Okay.
He also pointed to, a 13% increase in Mekong exports since the government took office,
Okay.
and a 7% rise in container handling in January,
Oh, wow.
which suggests, I think, a positive upward trend
Yeah.
in trade activity. 13% increase in exports is a good sign.
Yeah.
Because it signifies that more Bangladeshi goods are being sold internationally,
Right.
which brings in crucial foreign currency
Right.
and supports job creation within the country.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It sounds like they're really making
They are.
a concerted effort
Yeah.
to make Bangladesh a more attractive destination
food.
for investment.
And he actually specifically mentions
Right.
the ongoing work of the pilot company effect and the Bangladesh Investment Development Authority.
Right.
And, this body essentially acts as a one-stop shop for potential investors,
Okay.
helping them to navigate bureaucratic hurdles, things like licensing,
Right.
land acquisition,
Right.
making it easier to set up businesses in Bangladesh.
Yeah.
And, he also announced an upcoming a 4-day international DIFE investment conference to be held in Dhaka.
Oh.
And this conference is expected to draw participation from globally recognized investors such as, DP World, Singapore PSA, APM Maersk,
Okay.
some of whom have already put forward proposals for multi-billion-dollar investments.
Wow.
So this event seems like it's a major push to attract significant foreign capital.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then moving on to, international relations, it seems like there's been a notable shift in how
Yeah.
Bangladesh is being perceived
Definitely.
and received on the world stage.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely painted a picture
Yeah.
of positive change.
Yeah.
He spoke about this kind of spontaneous outpouring of friendship
Okay.
from governments worldwide since the interim government assumed office.
Okay.
Starting with, their engagement at the UN General Assembly back in September.
Right.
And he highlighted, greater levels of interest from international leaders.
Right.
In subsequent conferences, including, his own participation in 47 separate events at the Davos Summit back in January.
Wow.
Yeah. And, during these events, he held meetings with heads of state, government ministers, business leaders, heads of UN agencies,
Right.
all of whom, reportedly expressed a genuine interest in supporting Bangladesh.
Yeah. And there were specific, examples given, I think,
Yeah.
of improved relations with certain countries.
Yeah, he specifically mentioned, efforts aimed at reopening visa access with the tandem point called the United Arab Emirates,
Right.
which had been closed during the previous government.
Right.
And he reported that progress has been made, and he anticipates a soon reopening.
Okay.
And he also, mentioned a proposal
Okay.
put forward to the UAE for the establishment of an industrial zone,
Okay.
specifically for Bangladeshi industries. Initial plans for this zone include, a halal meat processing plant catering to the Muslim world,
Okay.
a fish processing plant. Additionally, the UAE has expressed interest in operating new Canal seaports
Right.
in Bangladesh.
Right. Okay.
So, it seems like this really proactive approach
Right.
to building stronger international partnerships
Yeah.
across a variety of sectors.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also there was the ambition for
Yeah.
Bangladesh to join ASEAN,
Hmm.
which is, a pretty significant,
It is.
regional move.
Yeah, I mean, he underscored this ambition to really elevate Bangladesh's,
Right.
global standing,
Mm.
and joining ASEAN being a key objective.
Hmm.
And he discussed this aspiration with, being a call coming up on him called for like the Honorable Prime Minister of Malaysia, Anwar Ibrahim, who currently chairs ASEAN, and Mr. Ibrahim reportedly offered his support
Okay.
for Bangladesh's membership bid,
Okay.
and extended an invitation to Dr. Yunus to visit,
Right.
which she accepted. He also noted Malaysia's important role in organizing a UN conference to address the Rohingya, the Rohingya crisis,
Right.
and their ongoing efforts to kind of to resolve issues related to taking workers from Bangladesh as well.
Right. Okay. And then there's also a significant upcoming visit to China
Yes.
planned, right?
Yeah. He announced an upcoming 4-day visit to China,
Right.
which includes a scheduled meeting with President Xi Jinping
Right.
and CEOs of major Chinese companies.
Okay.
He specifically mentioned interest from LONGi,
Okay.
which is the world's largest Chinese solar panel manufacturer,
Yeah.
in establishing a manufacturing facility in Bangladesh.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and discussions during the visit are also going to encompass potential, technological and medical assistance, access to affordable medical treatment, and even the possibility of importing mamkonkan mangoes, jackfruit, and guavas from Bangladesh.
Right.
And so the overarching goal is clearly to further strengthen
Right.
bilateral relations
Okay.
between the two countries through this high-level engagement.
Right. Okay. And then shifting our focus back to the region.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Yunus, he really emphasizes the inherent geographical advantages that Bangladesh possesses.
He did. He reiterated, what he described as the great fortune of Bangladesh's geographical location.
Yeah.
And he talked about this substantial potential for a joint economy with, Bakana with a finer desk, so
Yeah.
India, Nepal, and Bhutan,
Yeah.
suggesting that, such cooperation would bring benefits to all 4 countries.
Right.
And he specifically highlighted the strong interest from Nepal and Bhutan
Okay.
in providing to Maklavantir hydropower,
Right.
which he sees as absolutely vital for the continued industrial development of Bangladesh.
Right. And then he talked about also the
Yes.
the extensive coastline of Bangladesh,
Mm-hmm.
really being this significant kind of untapped
Right.
economic asset.
Yeah, he spoke about, these vast economic opportunities
Right.
that lie along this the long coastline,
Right.
stretching from Quimira all the way to Teknaf.
Right.
And his vision includes, the development of modern technology-driven, seaports, wind, Mornak, industrial factories, export processing zones,
Mhm.
all built to international standards along this coastline. Yeah.
And he really envisions this, kind of being a catalyst for a rapid and significant transformation of this entire economic region.
Yeah. And so I guess this vision of coastal development ties into this, broader strategy
Yeah.
of reducing reliance on traditional fossil fuels.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, by increasing the import of hydropower from neighboring Nepal and Bhutan, Dr. Yunus believes that Bangladesh can significantly reduce its dependence on to fossil fuels.
Right.
And he also pointed out that this shift aligns with growing global environmental concerns.
Yeah.
Which in turn
Okay.
could actually make Bangladesh a more attractive destination
So sure.
for foreign investment.
Yeah.
For environmentally conscious companies and nations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. And then the comedic of a not in Nanakakinga, the Rapur nuclear power plant was also
Right.
mentioned in the context of, meeting,
Yeah.
the country's increasing electricity demands.
Absolutely. He stressed the critical importance
Yeah.
of completing the it ties it into the energy combat Rakon Komentana according to the planned schedule,
Yeah.
and he mentioned receiving direct confirmation from the Director General of Rosatom,
Okay.
which is the Russian State Atomic Energy Corporation,
Right.
involved in the project, about its imminent trial launch.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so this is a big, a very significant step towards,
Yeah.
addressing Bangladesh's
Yeah.
growing need for reliable electricity.
Yeah.
And he envisions Bangladesh ultimately becoming a key player in a a profitable economic zone,
Yeah.
facilitating trade and connectivity not just with its immediate neighbors,
Right.
but also reaching out to the wider global market.
Right. Okay. So now let's address this, this really critical
Yeah.
and pervasive issue
Mm-hmm.
that I think formed a significant part of
Yeah.
Dr. Yunus's address, and that's the issue of corruption.
Yeah, and this was a central
Yeah.
and very strongly worded
Yeah.
part of his speech.
Yeah.
And he didn't hold back.
Yeah.
He highlighted limitless corruption that he alleged occurred under the previous Pali on the autocratic government.
Right.
He went as far as to say that this alleged corruption had placed Bangladesh at the very top of global corruption rankings.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he went on to explain, in pretty stark terms, I think,
Right.
the incredibly damaging effects,
Yeah.
That this level of corruption has on all aspects of society, really.
Absolutely. He
Yeah.
he explained how corruption, the FISA fundamentally distorts
Right.
everything within a system. It renders government, goals, man-concurrencies,
Mm.
policies, institutional arrangements, even the link, the make of like they may the responsibilities of government officials, utterly meaningless.
Right.
He described the emergence of what he called an an unwritten arrangement
Right.
that citizens, businesses, and investors are essentially forced to navigate.
Yeah.
And this informal system, he said, requires a new kind of language
Okay.
to even understand the real meaning behind official words and documents,
Yeah.
And he lamented the complete lack of a dictionary
Right.
to decipher these constantly shifting meanings.
Right. And the significant impact that this perception of widespread corruption
Yeah.
has on Bangladesh's standing
Yeah.
in the international community, I think
Mhm.
was also a key point that he raised.
Yeah, he stated very clearly
Yeah.
that the global perception of Bangladesh as lacking integrity is not only a profound national disgrace,
Right.
but also deeply self-destructive when it comes to Kamei and just Kamei, international trade.
Right.
And he emphasized that both, the Manasm Tatap, the people of the country,
Yeah.
and the international community share this strong desire for a corruption-free Bangladesh,
Right.
as this is essential to facilitate trade.
Yeah.
And it's set on the expansion of trade and commerce.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So given, the scale and I guess the deeply entrenched nature of this problem,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
specific plans did the interim government outline
Right.
to tackle this corruption?
So he stressed that it's like the interim government, is making it a top priority to ensure that all government work becomes PACPON free from corruption.
Okay.
And their aim is not only to maintain, a corruption-free tenure themselves,
Right.
but also to establish robust systems
Sure.
that will protect citizens
Right.
from government-sponsored corruption in the future.
Mm.
And a key strategy that he highlighted was preventing citizens from having to physically go to government offices
Right.
for routine tasks.
Right.
And they plan on doing this by implementing
Okay.
electronic filing
Okay.
across all government offices.
Right.
And the goal here is to enhance transparency.
Yeah.
And make it, easier to track the movement of files.
Okay.
Reducing opportunities for bribery
Right.
and undue influence.
Right.
And then he also talked about,
Okay.
expanding online government services,
Yeah.
which, was presented as a significant
Yeah.
anti-corruption measure.
Yeah.
He mentioned ongoing efforts to launch,
Right.
government online services for as many government functions
Right.
as possible.
Okay.
And this is a direct attempt to combat extortion.
Right.
And the demand for